Okay, so today basically we're talking about millionaire routines, right? What is it that a lot of successful CEOs, huge directors of companies do that make them different, right? And it's all about habits, right? Creating habits, and belief systems, breaking them down and making them accustomed to you so that you can change your life, right? Okay, so I just want to have like a sort of informal discussion about what are some of your routines first thing in the morning. Okay, cool. Okay, so honestly speaking, I was expecting much worse things from you guys, but it's good. Like you said, the morning is what sets the tone for the rest of the day, right? It's very important how you wake up, the things that you let into your mind and your sort of even physically, when you wake up, right? So before we start the session, I want to start off the small activity, right? And it's just to start the sort of session off on a positive note, because I believe that we all take in people's energy, right? So what's your favorite memory? It can be anything. It can be a holiday. It can be just like, maybe a family trip you took, or it can be just, an event you went to, and why it's your favorite memory. Okay, so my favorite memory was when I went to Georgetown to study, and the reason it's my favorite is because I remember that it became my favorite when I got there, but when I was on the plane and just getting out of Dar, it was very hard to get out of my comfort zone, to sort of now think that you're going to be living somewhere else for 4 years, right? Away from your family, away from your friends. It's a completely different sort of lifestyle. I'm so used to, here we get everything done for us, Over there, you have to get used to doing things on your own, which, Mariam, you're going to have to get used to doing, And so I guess my favorite memory is just getting there, and we had orientation and just meeting people from different backgrounds and realizing that, everybody's in this together, everybody's coming from their own homeland, and still we all have certain things about our life that we can relate to, homesickness, the idea of missing your food, your home, your family. And so that's one of my favorite memories, being at Georgetown for 4 years. Yeah. Angel, why don't you tell us a little bit about your favorite memory? Anything. It can be anything. As small as having breakfast with somebody. It doesn't matter what it is. So the first things first, okay? People think that millionaires are made, right? That basically a lot of people, and I get this a lot, that because your father is rich, you're gonna become rich, right? And you can't blame people for thinking these things, right? But it's not true. Millionaires are made by thinking and acting like a millionaire, right? So today, if I decided to just inherit and sit around and not do anything, obviously I would not achieve anything. It's pretty logical, right? But the thought is that yes, DNA does play a little bit a part of it, and we discussed this a little bit in the mindset session. But at the end of the day, if you're not putting in the work and you're not building the habit to sort of have this mindset, you're not going to get too far in life, right? So, so understanding this concept that millionaires are not just made, is fundamental for you to have this mindset. Okay, so first of all, what not to do. Okay, and the reason I've put what not to do is because this is what a lot of us do, right, to ourselves, and these are like scientifically proven methods of destruction. Basically, these are things that have an effect on our brain. These are things that actually cause us to be less efficient in our life, right? So a lot of us, what happens is, when we set an alarm, we press snooze, right? Because you're like, oh, another 10 minutes. But what it does is it messes up the REM cycle, your sleep cycle, and it makes you even more tired when you wake up, right? So even though you're thinking, if I get 10 more minutes of sleep, I'll feel better, it's actually the reverse. You're gonna feel much worse, right? So don't press snooze on your alarm, right? And I'm going to teach you one method on how to do that. So I'm not going to just tell you don't press snooze. Later on, I'll teach you how to wake up, right? Okay. Don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. This is the worst thing you can do to yourself, right? So I'm gonna make you watch a video soon, and it's a guy called Jim Quick, and he talks about basically how your mind and the first, you've heard of Jim Quick, right? So he says like basically the first thing in the morning that you do sets the tone for the rest of the day, right? And what happens is when you touch your phone first thing in the morning and you're bombarded by social media and you're bombarded by emails and messages, you're already anxious, right? You're anxious, you're mentally drained, you're tired, you know, it sort of messes up your entire day, right? So as much as you can, I know that a lot of businesses require urgency. I think that for you yourself, just try. Like if you can't, first 15 minutes don't touch your phone. Then the next day or the next week, try first 30 minutes not to touch your phone, right? Because it's also, they say, you know, when you're on your phone, your brain is stimulated. That's why a lot of people, they can't sleep at night. And a lot of like the teenagers, I don't know if you've seen studies, they have trouble sleeping, they have trouble functioning because they're always stimulated by their phones, their computers, and all these things, right? So keep your phone out of your room, basically. This is one thing. I try really hard not to touch my phone, but it becomes, I know the difficulties, which is why I'm addressing it, right?
Looking at the phone is stimulating, or we come to a point where looking for the phone has become stimulating?
Yeah, you see what happens is, I think that now it's just sort of, like I said, you know, that sometimes we unconsciously pick it up because we're so in tune to it, right? That, oh my God, I have to check my social media. Oh my God, I have to check my messages and my emails. And, you know, if I don't, the world will come to an end. No, it really won't. Right? World will not come to an end if you don't check your emails, right? I mean, at least if you decide to wake up early and give yourself that hour, you know, to do the things that you're supposed to make yourself better, feel better, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, then you're setting your life up for a better sort of future, right? And this millionaire success that I'm going to talk about, right? And so I want to share a little bit about Jim Quick and what he says, right? And he talks about that don't give away your sovereignty. So basically your freedom to an electronic device the first hour of the day, right?
Is that a metaphor of the matrix, so that you could have clarity of purpose, you know, and I think one of the things that's really powerful also is just a lot of people, they give away their sovereignty and their power first thing in the morning. Like the first thing in the morning, they'll pick up their phone and they'll check everything, you know, because there's the way it's set up, right? They're getting their dopamine fixes, and it's really rewiring their brain. So it's training them just to be distracted all the time.
Can I stop you for a second?
Sure.
That was so rad. You give up your sovereignty and your power. That's incredible, dude.
Yeah, so does anyone know who Jim Quick is? You guys have seen a lot of his stuff, right? So Jim Quick, basically, he talks about and teaches you methods on how to learn faster, right? And the reason why he does that is because, imagine, look at this. He went through a challenge in his life, right? I think he was dropped as a baby, and so he had a lot of problems breathing as a child, and sort of a lot of doctors told him he won't be able to be a good learner, right? Because obviously there was a lot of problems in his brain, right? And so imagine breaking away from that and what people are telling you, and sort of now he teaches people techniques on how to memorize better, how to learn quicker, right? All these really amazing techniques, right? And this show, just if you're interested, it's called Impact Theory. I talk about it a lot because, right? Yeah, because they call in a lot of amazing guests to the show who sort of talk about, you know, the pain, the adversity, the problems, what they've gone to, how they've been able to be more efficient, more successful in their life, right? And, you know, the problem is, I think, and this is what I'm going to talk to you about towards the end of the session, is that I think a lot of us, we need to first define what is success to us, right? The reason why I named this the Millionaire Mindset is because it was a marketing hack for me, right? When you think millionaire, you become excited, right? But I think that the problem here is that so what happens when you become a millionaire, right? So I'll address this towards the end, but was that understood basically, that first thing in the morning, let's try and stop doing this, because it's very bad for your brain, right? This is something called, the reason I put this up, I'm not one of those people. I go on the internet and I post everything and I agree with everything a lot of science says, and then I post what I think, because I'm also a scientist, right? Okay, anyways, so this is Mark Zuckerberg, okay, and he's sitting next to his rack of t-shirts, right? And you can see he's wearing the same thing every day. And this is Steve Jobs. And if you see a lot of Steve Jobs talks, it's the same, his jeans and black shirt, right? And it's like a turtleneck shirt that he usually wears. And the reason why they wear these things is what he said is that it's an idea of this decision fatigue, right? That it's one less important decision they have to make throughout the day, right? That they think that if you wake up in the morning and you start looking for clothes to wear, your brain gets tired, and it's a decision, because we are only limited to make a certain number of decisions in a day, right? So you have Mark Zuckerberg and you have Steve Jobs, and then you have me. So that's me, and I obviously do not believe in any of this. And I put this up because this is one area that I do not believe in at all as Fatima, okay? But where is the issue? Okay, and I will try to explain to you the science behind it, right? So what they're trying to say is that Mark Zuckerberg explains that, it's decision fatigue is because it's true that we do and we can only make X number of decisions during a day. We are human beings. We don't have this unlimited amount of mental capacity to do all the stuff, right? Which is true, and I'll explain to you also in terms of goals and setting deadlines for things, right? But and they also feel like it's stupid decisions, right? Maybe because they're not into pleasing. They believe that clothes are for pleasing other people. But I'm one of those people, and what I do is I set my clothes out the night before, okay? And I'm a firm believer that the way you dress says a lot about you as a human being. It shows your personality. I think it boosts your confidence, right? And I think it's different for men and women. For men, it's like, a lot of them who aren't really into fashion and style don't care, right? But there are a lot of women who take a lot of time and effort to get ready and dress up. And so for me, I don't believe in it. I believe in the concept of decision fatigue, but I don't believe that it's good for you. Because I think that at the end of the day, how you dress, how you show up, how you talk, all these things play a huge part in developing your character, right? So that's up to you to decide today, but I showed you the two contrasts, right? Okay, don't put off important tasks. The problem with us as human beings are that we wake up in the morning and the most important thing we have to do, we're like, yeah, we'll do it later. But the problem is we get tired, right, during the day, right? Obviously, if you will have X number of tasks to do during the day. So you will get exhausted, you will get tired. And what you'll end up doing is that you will let it go. And now as the day goes by, you get more tired, and then you can't even get that done. And the problem with that is that, basically that it's because many of times the night before, and I used to do this a lot, I would write down like lists and lists of things I would do, like lists of 10,000 personal things I had to do and work things I had to do. And you just go to sleep exhausted, because you wake up in the morning, you have to look at the list and you're like, it's not even possible to get it done, right? All these things are not possible. So that's why, if you see, in my journal, right, my hustle journal, there's only space to write down 3, right? There's only lists of 3 the most important things you have to do in your personal life that day, and 3 important things you have to do in your professional life, right? And the good thing is, the more, when you do it, it's a sense of accomplishment, right? That you get it done, right? So, the worst and most difficult task, do it first thing in the morning. Whatever it is. It could be even reading. Let's say you don't like reading, right? And you've put that as your goal for like the year, that you're gonna finish like 5 books, just 5 books during the whole year. And you hate reading. Make sure you do it first thing in the morning, because it's the most difficult task. And in your brain, you're gonna be like, okay, I got it done. That's amazing, right? I'll tell you something, and I researched about a lot of this stuff, and I was watching an amazing video by this guy, and he said that the power of just reading is phenomenal. There was a guy, and he was going to commit suicide, right? And he went into a library, he read a book, and his entire life changed, and he decided not to kill himself. And the problem with us is, again, because of technology, and I'm also a victim to this, not a victim, but I'm somebody who also does this a lot, because of technology, because of social media, because everything's online. We don't read, right? And because we don't read, we don't really expand in our knowledge, right? And so it's really important to set aside time to do the difficult things, and they don't have to be work-related things. It can be even personal ambitions we have, even if it's exercise. Let's say you've said to yourself, I'm going to exercise just 15 minutes a day, right? The problem with us is that we leave it until the end of the day, and then you're like, I'm too tired for this. Can't do it, right? So do the most important tasks first thing in the morning. Yeah. Leave your blinds closed. Okay, this is the worst thing you can do, because what happens is it tricks your brain to thinking that you're still like sort of in sleep mode, right? So when you wake up, make sure that you open your blinds and let the light in, because it's also the sunlight that increases the serotonin in your brain and the dopamine in your brain and the chemicals that are good for you, right? So these are also very, very important things that to keep in mind. So what should you do? I already told you what not to do, and there is a lot of what not to do. I've picked a few, but the most important thing is what should you do, right? So the best morning routine is basically, prepare to be productive, and this should happen the night before. What can you do to stay productive during the day? Write down your to-do list the night before, right? And then when you get up in the morning, go through it, right? Make sure that you're getting a good night's sleep. People say that, when you sleep very little, it leads to early death, because you're not giving time for your body to recover, right? And it's a lot of mental stress also. It leads to a lot of mental health issues. When you don't sleep enough, you get anxious during the day. Your ability to work is not as good, right? So, when people say, oh, I only sleep these many hours a day, it's not something to be proud of. It's actually not good for you. And this is something I'm also really trying to work on, right? Get up really early, okay? So if you see a lot of the most successful people in the world, whether it is the priests, right? Like from different religions, right? Or it is, the CEOs of successful businesses. Whoever it is, you'll see that they are the ones that wake up really early in the morning before everybody else, right? So make sure you do that. Read. Really, I cannot stress this enough, but read, right? Exercise. So that's another thing that you see. What happens is that we set our expectations so high. So I remember one day I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's like, I'm going to start tomorrow, and I'm going to exercise for 1 hour every day, and I'm going to lose these many kilos during the month. And I was like, oh my God, you are setting yourself up for a complete failure. Now I knew that, because what happens is that your brain, right? If you don't do it, your brain's just like you're a failure. So better, what to do is, if you do 1 push-up, you're good, because the next day you can do 2. Right? So it's all about training your brain to sort of understand these things, right? Make sure you're having breakfast. This is something I don't do too much, but please do it. Have breakfast. It's nutritious. And also for people who are trying to watch their weight, eat whatever carbs you want to eat. You can eat during the morning, because that's when your metabolism is at its highest. Start with the worst job, like I said, the most difficult. Let's not call it the worst, but the most difficult task, right? And consistency is key. Okay, so make sure you're consistent. This is another reason why I decided to release this journal, is because I want to sort of push people for consistency in their lives, right? If you do it for 2 weeks and you stop, you're not creating a habit, right? So in order to create a habit, they say it takes about 90 days to make something a habit, right? Because it's rewiring your brain completely, right? So make sure that whatever you're doing, even if it's slow, it's consistent, right? And this is something like with me, right? Like about 2 years ago, I started running outside. Okay, I would exercise, all the time, but I decided that I wanted to make sure I ran outside every day because the fresh air sort of helped me a lot, right? And so I would do it. Even if I was tired, I would get out of work at 5 o'clock, go home, get ready, change my clothes, and go run. And then even if I couldn't run, I would walk, because it's just a matter of consistency, right? And so then what happens is your lifestyle, you realize that, oh my God, I feel weird when I don't do it. Like you feel like even your body is like, and your mind sort of doesn't like it, right? So make sure, who's heard of Robin Sharma? Yeah, you guys have heard of Robin Sharma? Who hasn't heard of Robin Sharma? Okay, so he wrote a book called The Monk That Sold His Ferrari, right? And Robin Sharma basically talks about the 5 a.m. club. Okay, and what the 5 a.m. club is that he basically introduced this concept to get people around the world to join this club of his, and to set their life straight. Okay, and what he did is, it's called the 20-20-20 rule. Okay, so rise at 5 a.m. basically. And the good thing is, like, a lot of religions, right, they expect you to pray first thing in the morning. And look at how beautiful this is, that most religions, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Christianity, it's Islam, it's Judaism, they require you to pray in the morning, right? So even with us, right, as a Muslim, you're supposed to be awake at 5:30, right? 5:45 is the time to pray, right? So this 5 a.m. club is pretty cool because first thing it says, spend the first 20 minutes on exercise, right? Because when you pump your body up first thing in the morning and you get your heart rate up, it basically, your blood goes to your brain, right? And it gives you the capacity to be efficient during the day, right? Invest the next 20 minutes working on your plan, your goals, and your dreams, right? And so this could also be basically, just basically visualizing, writing down what you want to do. Again, a reason why I put this journal is that a lot of us, we think, right? We're like, we want to do this, but we don't write it down. But once you write it down, you make it sort of concrete, right? You're like, this is my goal, this is what I want to accomplish. And then you sort of set the tone to get it done, right? And then also devote the last 20 minutes to learning. So learning, meditating, anything it is to sort of, for that space, right? To sort of let those things in, yeah? And he says run it for 66 days because according to him, that this is the sort of the cycle he's realized that it takes for you to create a habit, right? So this is one of Robin Sharma's moves, right? And I want to talk a little bit about it's not only trouble waking up, but doing anything in life, right? And this is something that I suffered with a lot, right? How many of you guys have hesitated doing something? Whatever it is. Let's say you are in a lecture hall and you wanted to say something, you've hesitated. Or you wanted to make that move with your business, but you've hesitated. We all have, right? Okay, so the reason that is it's all scientific, right? Our brain is accustomed to sort of doing what is comfortable, right? We don't want to do what's uncomfortable because we only know what is comfortable, right? So the problem is that a lot of times we miss out on opportunities. We miss out on our goals. We miss out on, changing even our mental health because we believe that we cannot do it, right? So Mel Robbins, have you guys heard of Mel Robbins? Okay, so Mel Robbins, because I keep talking about her, if you read her book, The 5-Second Rule, or don't read her book, go and watch her TED Talk. It's one of the top TED Talks out there. She talks about the 5-second rule and how it changed her life. And basically, she talks about her story on how she was suffering from severe depression, severe anxiety. And I'm going to share a personal story of how it helped me, right? Anxiety and depression and how she couldn't get out of it, and how this 5-second rule basically changed her life, because one day she was just sleeping in bed and it was another day in bed and she was just like, oh my gosh, I have kids and I cannot be bothered to wake up, and my husband's in huge debt and I have to get the groceries, but I just cannot do it. And so she saw this channel of a rocket ship get out, right? So it was just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it was out, right? It was going up in space. And so the whole point is that that sort of going against that discomfort, giving yourself that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just doing it, right? And so that's why you follow that Nike motto, right? That just do it, right? And so whenever you feel like you don't want to, tell your brain 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just do it. And I know it sounds as simple as it does, but it's something that you have to keep training yourself to do. And I'll tell you of a personal experience. I hate small planes. I hate it. Like it's something that I just, I hate getting on small planes. I have a phobia, and it stopped me for a lot of years to sort of achieve a lot of things I want to, because I couldn't get to places, right? And so when I started watching a lot of her videos, because she talks about a lot of phobias as well, and a lot of problems, like, with people dealing with mental health, that how this 5-second rule has helped her. So she says that think of an anchor thought, right? So what are you excited for when you reach your destination? Right? And every time you feel that fear coming up, think of that anchor thought. Okay, why are you excited? If you're excited to be going back home, to seeing that friendly face, to seeing your family, or let's say you're going for an event, or so this time I was going to Rwanda for a Forbes event, and I remember I got out of the bus and I saw the plane and it had propellers. And I was like, oh my God, I can, this is not going, I will get off this plane right now. It was, honestly, take your worst phobia, and that is what it was for me. It was the worst feeling in the world. That whole maybe 2 hours, not when I was on the plane, but just getting ready, getting on the plane, sitting down was the worst fear of my life, right? And I was watching her videos a lot, and I realized that, okay, I'm gonna keep thinking, why am I excited? Because I was gonna go speak at Forbes. I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. I'm gonna go meet amazing women. I'm gonna be able to speak about what I'm passionate about. So that's what I kept thinking about. And really, it helped me. So I'm saying, as a personal experience, how much this whole idea helped me, right? So it's very simple. It says if you have an impulse, to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds, or your brain will kill the idea, right? And she says motivation is garbage. That's the first thing when she walked into Impact Theory, and the guy introduces her as a motivational speaker, and she's like, listen, what are you talking about? Motivation is garbage. And the reason she says it's garbage is because she says you have to build the momentum within yourself. Build that motivation, right? Build the sort of by self-talk. You see, a lot of times we spend so much of our energy just making ourselves miserable, making ourselves feel like we're pathetic, right? And so it's about how you speak to yourself as well, right? As human beings. Who's watched this? Yeah, you watch a lot of this stuff, right? Okay, so I hope the English is not that, because this guy is I think he's from Texas or something, so his accent's a bit, but...
Change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made. That you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, the instructors joyfully brief the students on all the species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can remember. But you are also taught that if a shark begins to circle your position, stay in your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. And if the shark, hungry for a midnight snack, darts towards you, then summons up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away. There are a lot of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you will have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. Over a few weeks of difficult training, My SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of little guys, the Munchkin crew we call them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys, from every corner of the nation and the world, always had the last lap, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers. The 9th week of training is referred to as Hell Week. It is 6 days of no sleep, constant physical and mental harassment, and 1 special day at the mud flats. The mud flats are an area between San Diego and Tijuana where the rough water runs off and creates the Tijuana Sloughs, a swampy patch of terrain where the mud will engulf you. It is on Wednesday of Hell Week that you paddle out on the mud flats and spend the next 15 hours trying to survive this.
Yeah, so it's good, right? Yeah. So the reason this resonates with a lot of people is because it's true. You know, I think that sometimes it's the little things that we don't do, right? Like making our bed, especially in this country where you can just sort of, who makes their bed first thing in the morning? Yeah, good, me too, yeah. And so it's obviously it's not easy, right? Because you know you have somebody to do it. But it's something, again, it's mindset change, right? And it's true that it makes you feel like, wow, I've done something, yeah? You feel good about it because it makes your room look cleaner too, right? You're like, okay, got that done, right? You know, it's a lot of lessons in one sort of session, but you know, I thought it was a little bit, English wasn't too bad, right? His accent's a bit hard though, but yeah, I mean, you know, we got most of it. Okay, so a lot of the problem comes from self-sabotage, right? A lot of times the thoughts that go into our mind are negative. And I always say this to people, that how would you speak to your best friend? Right? How would you speak to someone you love if they were going through something hard? And it's because of all this negativity that we don't accomplish things. Now, a lot of successful people, it doesn't mean that they're egoistic and they're amazing and they know that they're amazing. Obviously, everybody goes through doubts about themselves, right? But they just can manage it better. So, I did a lot of research, and you know, affirmations, right? Affirmations are positive words that you tell yourself. And for a long time, you know, I remember one day I went to one of these aunts, right, that I have, and I went to her house, and all of a sudden on the mirrors I see, you know, it says I am enough on every mirror. And I'm enough. It says I am enough. Okay, it was like with a lipstick, she had put it on every mirror in her house. And I was just like, what? Like, why, like, I don't get it, you know? And so she taught me, she's like, so every time I go on the mirror, and forces me and reminds me to say this to myself, because a lot of times I feel like I am not enough, and I feel like I am broken, or I feel like I am, you know, I am not good, right? And so these are affirmations that they force you to say these things to yourself. And so she said that, why don't you try it? And so she would take sticky notes, right? And she's like, go write down these affirmations. So whether I'm enough, or I'm smart, or I'm confident, or I'm able to do whatever I put my mind to, put it all around the house, you know, because it's going to train your brain into slowly believing in yourself. And this negative self-talk, a lot of times, you know, even when you're sitting, you don't realize you're doing it, which is the scariest part, right? Because we're making, like, we're like really like belittling ourselves so much, right? So something that we also need to really work on, right? Okay, so this is something I came across. Yes.
I will give you a video for that.
The affirmations, yeah, you have a video? Yeah, that would be great if you could share it. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in, I don't believe motivation is garbage, no. I do believe that it comes from within, but I believe that I watch a lot of positive stuff. I like to go on TED Talk, I like to go on GoCast, or just watch how people have gone through adversity in their lives and how they've gone past it. And you'll see, again, it's all about what's in your head, right? It's all about what you're telling yourself. If you keep telling yourself you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it, right? And I spoke about this at my TED Talk, where I said that for a long time I would, when I was going through a lot of struggles in my life, for a long time I would get up and I would give speeches. And I would mentor people, and I would tell them that, about how to be amazing and how to stand out and how to be confident. And I didn't feel those things, right? I felt very little about myself. I didn't feel good about myself, but I did it so much and I did it so often that I started to believe in myself, right? And I started to believe in these things. So I am honestly, whatever I'm saying, I've been through it. I have done it. And I've seen the results. I don't preach about things that, yes, I'm not a perfect person. I don't wake up and do this 5 a.m. club. I don't want to wake up that early, but I do try to put in these things in my life because I think they're very important, right? And so it's another thing that is in the book as well, that the affirmations that, every day, what are the affirmations you can tell yourself, right? To sort of give yourself that sort of boost, right? So yeah, I came across this, okay, it's called Lifesavers, right? And these are just acronyms to make you remember, right? So silence, a lot of times the world is filled with noise, right? There's a lot of background noise, right? Noise that tells you you can't do something, noise of negativity, whether it's from your friends, whether it's from just the community, the world, whatever noise it is, right? And a lot of times, this is why meditation is so important, because it forces you to silence your mind, right? And it forces you to sort of figure out what is important and affirm yourself on the things that you're good at. And these are the reasons why silence during a really busy day is even if it's just 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I think prayer, whether it's in the form of prayer or meditation, it takes you away from the noise of the world, right? Yeah. And then also, again, affirmations we've talked about. Visualization is another really important thing. So I don't know if you guys have heard of The Secret, right? So at one point it became really huge, this book, right? It's called The Secret. And the reason why is because a lot of the greatest characters like Oprah Winfrey, they talk about how they visualize their day, right? How they imagine their day to go. And they say that the reason they do it is because they can almost touch and feel how the day will go, right? Because it's almost like it's real in their mind. And because of that, they're able to achieve these miraculous things, right? What else? Exercise, we've talked about this and how important it is to exercise. Reading positive things, and the reason why it's positive is because, when you're on social media, there's so much garbage these days, right? So even the people you follow, be careful of the people you're following, right? Are they providing positive energy? Are they giving you something of value addition? Or is it just making you feel like crap? Right? So many of us, we follow these celebrities and these models, and a lot of them just make you end up feeling like a bunch of crap about yourself, right? So make sure you're following people that are sort of adding value to you in one way or another, right? And scribing, writing down on a journal your process, your thoughts, reflection, right? Always, at the end of the day, I always ask myself, were you a better person than you were the day before? That is what success means to me. Were you better? Did you do better today? Did you handle things better, right? As opposed to, whatever your idea of success would be, yeah? If you're hanging out with people who are not of the same mindset as you, you're literally wasting your time, okay? Because what's gonna happen is that you're sort of going to end up really draining yourself, right? I don't know, sometimes we have those friends and you just sort of, you sit around with them and you're like, oh my gosh, I just wasted an hour of my life, right? And so look, it's in every relationship you will find that, you know, not everyone's going to be at the same level. So if you can push them to be better, do it. Always do it, always push. And I believe that sometimes all of us have a gift and sometimes we have that power to sort of change the conversation in the room, right? But if you can't do that, seriously, you have better things to do in your life, right? So idea of growth mindset, we talked about this in the sort of in the in the last session, where if you want to have a growth mindset, you have to be around that sort of environment of growth, right? Listen to positive videos and podcasts, even listening to positive people, right? Learn something new every day. Read. Whatever it is, make sure that you're learning a new skill. You know, it can be as something like, you know, for me, I hate doing slow tasks that sort of force me to slow my brain down, right? Because I'm one of those people that I have to constantly, my mind is stimulated, I have to do one thing after another. So a lot of times nowadays I have to force myself. You know, I used to be like an avid reader, and I've stopped that because, you know, to be able to read, you have to have patience, right? And that patience is going. So now I have to sit down and be like, you know what, 40 pages, at least 40 pages every night, make sure to read, right? And take care of your health, you know, make sure that you're eating right, make sure you're exercising, the food you're taking in, because, you know, nutrition is key, you know, to everything and anything. So how do you structure your day like the rich? Okay, we've spoken about this. Get up early. We are looking at Tim Cook, okay, who wakes up at 3:45, Martha Stewart, 5 a.m., Oprah Winfrey, 6 a.m., Obama, 6:45. All the great, even the leaders, the spiritual leaders, if you see them, they always wake up really, really early before the sun rises, right? And so, you know, basically, even athletes, and you know, they like Muhammad Ali would go jogging while it was still dark before starting his actual training. The Buddha would wake up sometimes as early as 3 to start meditating, you know. And if you want to have both, this is because it gives you the time. But there are some people who want to do so many things during the day, right? And that's fine. You know, it's something that, but again, if you are trying to do 100 things during the day, you're going to not have that, you're going to end up getting sick. You're not going to have the energy to sort of complete those things, right? So even in terms of when you're done with work, and this is something I'm going to talk about, how to just switch off. You have to switch off, right? And this is, you know, for people like me who like to have this side hustle and do these things, when do you turn off? You have to, because it is destroying your brain. And it's just, and again, you know, this is why I began with, what is success, right? What is being rich? What is being a millionaire? These are all, you know, we're looking at it from barely a money, a financial standpoint, right? But how many rich people end up being sick and end up not enjoying their life and end up sort of not doing what they leave the world with all this money, right? And if you see, a lot of the greatest leaders end up giving that money to charity. They're working towards a cause, right? They're working towards a cause that is greater than them. They're working towards either helping another human being, right? Building a community or a society or a company that cares about its people, right? So it's what is your idea of success? And for everyone it's different. But I can assure you one thing, that if success to you is just money, you're really building yourself up to create the greatest failure in the world, because you will keep chasing it and chasing it and chasing it, and nothing is going to ever be enough, right? So you have to get to a point in your life where you're like, how do I create this balance, right? How do I get to a point where I have an inner satisfaction? And you know, doing things like meditating, right? Doing things like praying, those are the things that bring that inner satisfaction. Those are the things that in the midst of this trauma and this noise around the world, it's what calms you down, right? Because you'll see a lot of people, leaders, they're agitated all the time, they're tired, they're exhausted, and it's because they don't have that inner peace. and they search for it in forms of monetary things, or they look, having goals to expand your business, okay, is amazing. Having goals to do really well and become the best, it's good. It's good because you are you want to reach that place, right? But if it is at the jeopardy of your health and it is at the jeopardy of your mental peace, you know, yesterday was Mental Health Day, right? And I was online and I was reading a lot of scary stories. And why? Because we see other people, right? And you know, like I said, you know, like customers, you know, that we browse through the shelves, right? We only see the end product. We don't see what's happening in people's lives, right? So a lot of times, there was a lady and she was writing about postpartum depression, and she's one of those influencers, and she was she decided to open up about her mental health issues, right? So at what cost, right? That's the question. At what cost do you want all these things, right? And again, money is not evil. It's only evil if it takes over your sense of peace of mind, if it takes over your ethics, if it takes over you being a good human being. Nobody said money is evil. Even in religion, every religion, I believe, if it wasn't for money, you wouldn't be able to help other people, right? Yeah. If you have a big business, it's good. You're giving other people jobs. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you need to know where the balance is, because you need to know yourself enough. So how much do we also know ourselves, right? Yeah, so that's another sort of thing to think about. Exercising, we've already discussed, and basically that, you know, people, they always say, you know, you're rich, so that's why you exercise. No, it's not because you're rich you exercise, it's because you want to take care of your body. Right? It's it's because you want to take care of your mind. You know, when you exercise, there is a chemical reaction, right? It releases endorphins, right, in your brain. This is why a lot of people resort to drugs or alcohol, because that's what the drugs do, right? They release endorphins. They give you this happy hormones, but only for a brief number of a period in your life, right? But when you exercise daily, it's the endorphins coming out daily. And honestly, I feel it. When I'm not exercising, I feel very like low and sort of depressed and tired, you know? So keeping this in your daily routine, very important, right? Don't entertain self-doubt. Like I said, it's not that a lot of millionaires and successful people don't doubt themselves. They do. They just know how to manage it. You know, you can set aside 15 minutes a day to be like, okay, you know I'm pathetic, I'm bad at this, but then snap out of it. You know how many people I counsel that literally sit there and you can tell they're just making excuses to not do what they want to do, okay? And it is sad because they're young, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know, just because you didn't get to finish your degree because of whatever. Okay, you decided to flunk out of school, does not give you the reason to not go after your dreams, to get through what you want, right? Yes, you lost a parent. It's horrible. I cannot relate to that, but I've gone through pain as well, right? So everybody goes through pain and challenges, but it does not give you the right to sort of stop your life, yeah? So self-doubt is horrible. And I've talked about this so many times that I've gone through periods in my life where there's constantly people telling you, and it's going to happen. People are not going to believe in what you're going to believe in, but that is what makes you different. That's what makes you sort of, and I talked about this, that for me, I've never been the type to believe in these stereotypes. I've always sort of gone against what everybody thought and did what I wanted to do, right? It's not easy, but it's doable for everybody and anyone, right? Take an hour for lunch, okay? And the reason why is because it's not, a lot of these successful people don't just take this hour just to go and chill with their friends and have lunch. No, it's a sense of discipline also, right? It's like telling yourself, I deserve this 1 hour to go relax and take my mind off stuff and sort of figure things out. And I'll tell you what happened with me, right? My professor sort of asked me that, what do you think kills creativity? And I said, it's living your life on autopilot. not doing things that are sort of sometimes, you know, out of the norm, right? Not taking risks, right? Not so. Just a year ago, I decided to just get up and go to Lebanon, and I was like, you know what? I need to go and do something different. I have been working like a crazy person, and it's killing everything. I cannot do anything more. I'm sort of stuck in a rut. My mind is stuck in a rut. So maybe some people don't have the opportunity to do these things. It's okay. But go and do something different. Like if, let's say, every Sunday you sit at home in front of your TV and eat kebabs, that Sunday just tell yourself, you know what, I'm gonna go to the beach instead. Okay? Even if it's just to look at the ocean. Or I'm gonna go and try something that's completely different from what I usually do, right? So fundamental, yeah? But always have a balance in your life. And when you're not happy, at the end of the day, when you're doing something you're not happy with, just stop, you know? I know, and I've consulted a lot of people who have told me that, look, but I need to make my ends meet. I need this job to do, but then you have to get it done 9 to 5, right? After 5 o'clock, you have a choice with what you do with your time, right? So do something with your time that makes you happy. Yeah, there's always a way out, right? Like I said, like about the Trump's wall, right? He was right. You can go above it. You can go on the sides of it. You know, there's always a way, right? So always make sure that when you go to bed at night, you're happy. That there's a sense of happiness, right? Again, becoming a millionaire in terms of money, I believe is a total waste of time if you're not going to use that money for good, if you're going to help another human being. If you see, that's why people like Bill Gates, right? They have their pledges, right? It's because they believe that now, okay, you know, you have the money, what is that going to go towards? And I'll tell you a story about this guy and how this story touched me a lot. So like I said, I watch a lot of these things. There was a guy, and he was a club promoter. I'm sure you've seen it. Okay, good. First thing I can tell you that you haven't seen. Okay, he's a club promoter. Okay, and basically he made money doing drugs, promoting clubs, letting women into clubs for free, and making men pay for alcohol. And just that is how he made money. And he was basically minting money. The guy was like at 20, 21, just living the life. And you know, one night the party kept going on, and it went on until the next morning. And he woke up and he had this feeling that he was like, what am I doing? He's like, what am I doing in my life? What is this? How long is this gonna last? So you know what he did? He sold all the equipment he had. And he said to himself, I'm going to go and just 1 year do service and see if my life changes, right? It was just like a test that he was like, I'll just 1 year spend my life on service. So he started emailing all these NGOs, right? So he would go to UNICEF and all these people, and he'd be like, hey, can I volunteer? And they were like, no. They were like, what kind of dumb resume do you have? You think we'll let you volunteer for us? You're a club promoter, you know? And these people, it's free per person to volunteer, so you would assume they'll be like, yeah, come, right? So there was one company that said, listen, you can volunteer if you pay us $500 a month, like a Navy ship, okay, that does medical trips, right, and goes and heals people. So he's like, okay, man, I gotta do this. So what he decided to do is he got on the ship, and he's describing himself that before he got on the ship, he just had he finished this whole crate of beer, threw it away, put on his nicotine patch, threw away all the cigarettes, got on the ship, and he's like, you know what, I'm starting my life. Anyways, he got on the ship, and it went from the US to Liberia. He went to Liberia, and he was a journalist. So he basically he started to take photos, and he was journaling what was going on there. And it was so sad because he was saying that there were times that people had cancers in their mouth. Okay, and he was taking these photos, and there were children who were thoroughly malnutrition and sick, and he had to see all this. And there were times where these doctors didn't have the resources to help them, or even the number of people to help them. And so they had to sort of, so he decided, he was curious, and he decided to go and really figure out what was the main cause. And he realized it was all water. right? Lack of pure drinking water. And even if a lot of these people were getting the attention, medical attention they would get sick, typhoid, waterborne disease. There's so many problems because the water was not clean. Just something basic, right? And this was from parts of India to, to Africa, to everywhere he was going. This was the main problem. So what he decided to do is he went back to America and he's like, I'm gonna promote another club. And what he did this time is he did it and he said that, look guys, all this money is gonna go to charity, right? And so these people came in, they gave a lot of money, and he took the money and he went back to Liberia and he built a well. And what he did is he took photos and he sent them back to these people. And they were so excited because they're like, oh my God, this is where our money went. And slowly, slowly, he started building his life like that. So what he would do now is that he basically raises money for pure drinking water across the world, and he puts tracking devices on the wells that he builds, and so that people know where their money went exactly, so they can track on their phones. This is where my money is going. This is the well. It's going in this area. It's like when you go and buy a star, right? And then they give you the locations, the GPS of the star. It's like the same thing, right? Like the GPS locations of the well. And so he was able to sort of create a change like that. And he says that, yeah, I'm not making as much money I was making when I was promoting clubs, but I'm changing people's lives, right? It just flipped like this, right? And so, again, what is happiness and success to you, right? So that's what we were talking about that day. I was talking about differentiating yourself from the competition, right? That the problem is, and this is a really cool story by Coca-Cola. So that this was a few in the 70s. Coca-Cola's CEO, Pepsi was taking over market share, right? And so Coca-Cola's the management team was like, you know what? We need to take away at least 1% or something of their margin, right? Of Pepsi's margin. And the CEO is like, listen, Coke is not our competitor. Water is our competitor. Juice is our competitor. Our competition is beyond Pepsi, right? And because of that thinking, you know what? He said, I'm gonna put a vending machine on every other street corner of New York. And he did that. And because he was able to do that, he was able to eat market share of everyone, because now somebody's thirsty. It's sometimes they'll be like, I don't want water. The soda is right in front of me, right? So I think what he's trying to say is that, no, I'm not, that it's like, it is important to look at your finances, but when you look at a vision of a company, right? And I explained this to you, that what is your why, right? If your why is just, I need to be like bigger than I was yesterday and make more money than I was, your goals are shorter term, right? But if your why is that, you know what, I am thinking of the long game, I'm thinking of 10 years from now, that what is the sort of brand I'm trying to create, your whole perspective will change. Because then of course you need money to run a business, but it's not going to matter that much how much you make. You understand? It's more about the sort of environment you're creating for a better 10 years down the line from now, So was this helpful? Was it good? Yeah, it was a bit different from the usual sort of, and so, my marketing was calling it the millionaire mindset. So that was all part of the marketing. But I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I liked it today. I think it was a smaller group because of the rain, but it was more of a intimate discussion, and it was good. So thank you, and thank you all for coming despite the rain and the traffic and everything. It was a pleasure having you guys here.